I came here today because I thought it might be the last time I see you. The last time? I tilted my head in confusion, and my daughter Lisa gave me a nasty grin. She took a slow, deliberate breath, then proclaimed loudly, "I'm getting married. You won't see your grandchild, and I don't want anything to do with you from now on. We're cutting ties." How could this be happening? A surprise wedding announcement and a declaration of estrangement. I was so shocked that my true feelings slipped out. "That's fine with me. Good riddance." Lisa's eyes widened, and she blinked rapidly. She hadn't expected that response. "What? Why?" "Why? You're the one who brought it up first. There's a limit to how much a parent can love their child unconditionally. After being bombarded with harsh words every day, it's impossible to keep loving. But Lisa doesn't understand that. She thinks I will always love her no matter what. That's simply not possible. And above all, I could never forgive Lisa for what she did as a wife who was cheated on. I'm Kristen, 37 years old. I've never had much luck in love and hadn't even come close to getting married until now. I envied my friends who looked happy in their marriages, but I didn't think marriage was something to force. I figured if a good match came along, that would be nice. Then I met Joshua. Joshua worked for the cleaning service that came to my apparel company. He was simple, not conventionally handsome, but he was sincere and hardworking, which attracted me to him. I would sometimes think about approaching him, but never had the courage to act. However, one day, Joshua asked me out to dinner. It turned out he felt the same way about me. From then on, we started dating regularly, and eventually, Joshua confessed his feelings for me, and we began a relationship. 6 months later, he proposed, and we decided to get married. I can't believe I'm getting married. And to someone as wonderful as Kristen. I feel the same way. Let's build a happy home together. Joshua is serious and calm. He willingly helps with household chores. He is an exemplary husband. Thanks for washing the dishes. You must be tired. Let me finish up. But Joshua wouldn't let go of the sponge. It's okay. You must be tired too. Plus, you earn more than I do. Let me at least do this. That doesn't matter. But thank you, I'm glad. I believed I could be happy with him. But things started to change about 2 years into our marriage. Joshua had never been interested in fashion and just wore whatever was comfortable. Working in the apparel industry, my professional instincts kicked in, and with his permission, I started to style Joshua. He was tall with long limbs. In other words, he had a good figure and could wear anything well. Maybe it was the special treatment from his wife, but Joshua quickly became very handsome. Wow, I don't even recognize myself. You're amazing, Kristen. I'm glad you like it. It suits you, Joshua. Seeing Joshua happy made me happy too. Little did I know that this would lead to future troubles. Around our first anniversary, I found out I was pregnant and gave birth to our daughter, Lisa. I took maternity leave from work, and my days were consumed by the demands of first-time motherhood. It was more challenging than any tight work schedule I'd ever had. With a baby, you can't move freely or sleep when you want. That caused me immense stress. Around that time, Joshua started acting strangely. Hey Kristen, I'm going out with friends tomorrow on my day off. Pick out my clothes like usual. He no longer looked at himself in the mirror with that sparkle in his eyes, yet he still wanted me to choose his outfit. I was already struggling with Lisa's nightly crying fits, and Joshua's nonchalant attitude made me furious. Joshua had his smartphone in hand, his attention fully on it. He didn't even glance at me, who was at her limit from holding Lisa. not even offering a simple, "Want me to take over?" Going out again? Lately, Joshua had been going out alone every weekend. Sometimes with friends, sometimes with coworkers, but he always left early in the morning and didn't come back until late at night. I was sleep deprived from taking care of Lisa and found Joshua's behavior irritating. "You go out every week." I couldn't help but say it in a nasty tone. "What's with that look? Can't I have some time to relax too? I work hard, you know. But lately Lisa hasn't been sleeping through the night, so I haven't had a chance to rest either. I was hoping you could help on your days off." "What are you talking about?" Joshua looked at me and laughed mockingly. "What's the point of maternity leave? Look, you're not working right now. That means childcare is your job. So why should I sacrifice my days off to do your job? That's just ridiculous, unreasonable. But Lisa is your daughter too. That's why I'm working to support you both. Who do you think pays for everything? God, you're annoying. I'm going to bed. Just pick out my clothes." At that moment, I think my eyes were filled with tears of frustration and sadness. Joshua must have noticed since we made eye contact. But Joshua just glared at me, leaving with one final remark. "Geez, you think crying will solve everything? You're just like a baby." His words were so cruel, I was left standing there, stunned. He used to be so kind when we were newlyweds. Can time really change someone this much? Of course, not all couples stay in that honeymoon phase forever. Some even end up divorcing. In fact, divorce had crossed my mind many times. But he hadn't cheated or hit me. And when Lisa was in a good mood, he was affectionate with her. So I couldn't bring myself to do it. It's still too soon. More than anything, I couldn't take away Lisa's father just because of my impulsive thoughts. With that in mind, I managed to get through each day. But then, 4 years later, something decisive happened. Joshua's affair came to light. It turned out he met the girl at a bar. When I heard she was 20, I felt dizzy. Joshua and I were both 42. I couldn't believe he was cheating with someone less than half our age. I made up my mind to divorce him and confronted him. I had enough evidence from a private investigator. "Can you look at this?" I waited until 4-year-old Lisa was sound asleep, then laid out the photos and the completed divorce papers on the table. "What? I'm going to bed." Joshua lazily glanced at the photos and then his eyes widened, speechless. This woman forced me to link arms with her." The photos showed Joshua and the woman, arm in arm, entering a hotel. There were also photos of them leaving. "This isn't the only proof. And you've been using our joint savings too. I know everything. Let's get a divorce." Ugh. Joshua was momentarily flustered but quickly regained his composure and sneered. "Are you really sure? A woman like you with no charm won't ever get married again." He seemed to be implying that I'd regret divorcing him. "Well, I don't know if there will be a next time, but I've learned that marriage doesn't guarantee happiness. Thank you for everything up to now." "You arrogant bitch. That's why I got tired of you. It's all your fault." Was my response unexpected? Joshua's face turned red, and he scribbled on the divorce papers I had prepared. "Fine. I'll give you the divorce you want. Don't come crawling back later." "Don't worry, I won't." Despite some disputes over child support and alimony, Lisa and I managed to start a new life. Lisa didn't seem very attached to Joshua, but once he was gone, she seemed to miss him. "Dad?" she asked me every day. Surprisingly, Joshua also contacted me regularly. "I want to see Lisa," he would say. Child support and alimony payments were consistently late, and if I could, I wouldn't let him see her. But Joshua is Lisa's father. Would it be cruel to deny Lisa the right to see her father because of my own selfishness? After much deliberation, I arranged for Joshua and Lisa to meet once a month. I really didn't want to see Joshua, so I would drop Lisa off in the morning and pick her up in the evening. During their time together, I was filled with anxiety. I never spoke ill of Joshua to Lisa. In fact, before discovering his affair, I often suppressed my complaints. Dad is always working hard. Dad loves you very much. Anne told her. But the real Joshua was as you see him now. I had inadvertently raised his approval rating, but would Lisa get hurt meeting him? For a while, I was unsure if this was the right thing to do, but every time, I had fun, Lisa would say happily, so the monthly meetings continued. Before I knew it, Lisa had grown up and was now in high school. She was still a child inside, but she looked like an adult. The journey to this point had been incredibly fast. Reflecting on it, I had gone through incredible days juggling work, housework, and childcare. Raising a child is extremely challenging. It's not just about the financial aspect. Right now, I was hitting a wall. Shut up! I know without you having to say it. If you know, then why don't you do it? I'm just asking you to clear your dishes. If you noticed, why can't you just do it too? You don't have to nag me about it. Mom, you're really annoying. Since graduating from middle school, Lisa had plunged into her rebellious phase. She used to help with housework and we had plenty of conversations. But recently, we argued every time we saw each other, and she seemed to avoid me by staying in her room or going out. She was foul-mouthed, and even minor reprimands made her react with extreme distaste. Is this what a rebellious phase is supposed to be like? If this continues, I'll lose my mind. Lately, Lisa's attitude had been particularly terrible. She looked at me like I was something disgusting. When was the last time I saw her smile? I had talked to friends about my distress, but their kids had already passed through their rebellious phases and didn't seem as bad. But a rebellious phase will end eventually, right? I told myself that. I wanted to get along like we used to. Hoping for that, I waited for time to heal things. However, my relationship with Lisa never improved, and the days just passed by. In fact, the situation only got worse. Lisa, you took money from my wallet again, didn't you? Even if we're family, that's theft. Enough is enough. Shut up, old hag! My allowance is too small. You're my mom, so you should give me what I want. I'm giving you enough. What are you spending it on? If you explain, I might agree to give you more. I understood that for a high schooler like Lisa, now was the most fun time for hanging out and dressing up. I didn't intend to spoil her, but if she gave me a good reason, I wouldn't just refuse outright. But Lisa stubbornly refused to tell me why. There's no way you'd understand, old hag. Stop prying, it feels like you're suffocating me. It's like I drew the short straw in the parent lottery. Toxic mom. I care about you, Lisa, and I've tried to raise you well. Hearing that makes me sad. If you care, then stop nagging about money. Dad would be more generous. But thanks to someone, I only see him once a month. And I don't care if you're sad. Just give me the money. Even when I tried to talk seriously, she would mock me with a light-hearted laugh, making any real conversation impossible. It's your fault I need so much money. Do you know how hard it is to deal with this face? The parts one hate the most look just like you. My eyes are too small. I wanted big, bright ones. I think your face is cute, Lisa. I understand makeup is important, but are you blind? Sure, I'm way cuter than you, but seriously, have you looked in a mirror lately? No wonder Dad left you. Lisa's words never stopped belittling me. She kept finding new ways to put me down. Every day, it was something like this. Eventually, I started wishing Lisa would move out. She was my dear daughter, but the cruel words she hurled at me daily were terrifying. What scared me most was how much she seemed to enjoy it. After graduating college, Lisa finally moved out. She got a job in the neighboring state and started living on her own. I was more relieved than worried, feeling safe from her accusations and insults. It bothered me that she never contacted me, but reaching out might upset her again. No news was probably a sign that she was doing well. I forced myself to believe that. But one day, something unexpected happened. Lisa suddenly showed up at the house, with an unfamiliar man by her side. I was confused, but Lisa smiled proudly. Isn't he handsome? This is my boyfriend, Michael. Oh. He's lovely. Nice to meet you, Michael. Thank you for taking care of Lisa. Michael nodded back in greeting. Lisa had brought boyfriends home before, but never like this. Why now? Puzzled, I looked down. That's when I noticed Michael's hand. Realizing something. What? I gasped. Lisa immediately reacted. Oh, you noticed? Lisa, is this? Before I could finish, Lisa lovingly patted her stomach. That's right. I'm going to be a mom. What? While I was confused by the unexpected words, Lisa gave a smug look again. Well, today, I thought I'd come because it's technically the last time. The last time? Lisa gave me a nasty smile as I tilted my head in confusion. She took a slow, deliberate breath and then declared loudly, I'm getting married. I won't show you my kids, and we're cutting ties. How unbelievable. A surprise wedding announcement and a declaration of estrangement. I couldn't help but let my true feelings slip out in my astonishment. Is that so? Good riddance. Lisa blinked in shock at my response. She clearly hadn't expected such an answer. What? Why? Why? Because you're the one who brought it up first. I could give countless reasons. Most of all, I was thrilled at the thought of no longer having to deal with Lisa. Living alone now, I realized how grueling it was living with her. Every word from her mouth was an insult or a command. If I didn't hide my money, she'd take it. Back then, my home wasn't a place of comfort for me. With Lisa gone, I was finally savoring the peace and happiness. But even amidst this peace, I had a concern. The possibility that Lisa might come back one day. Even if she didn't, if she got married, got pregnant, and had children, there was a chance she'd return to the house. The thought of Lisa coming back with a baby was terrifying. I could vividly imagine being treated like livestock, blamed for the smallest things. But now, Lisa had clearly said it. She wouldn't show me her kids, and we were cutting ties. That meant I wouldn't have to take care of Lisa or her future kids. I could only feel joy. On the other hand, Lisa seemed confused for some reason. Are you okay with it? You won't see your grandkids or me? Yes. No problem at all. Should I write a written pledge? Or maybe we should leave a notarized document? My cheerful response made Lisa's face turn red. Her expression was just like Joshua's. Joshua looked the same way when I demanded a divorce and he started yelling defiantly. Are you really okay with this? I'm your only daughter. If you cut ties with me, you'll never hold your grandkids. Yes, no problem. Your cousin Nancy had a baby last month, so I'll consider Nancy's child as my grandkid. I'll support and cherish them. Lisa looked like she wanted to say something, but finally, fine. Whatever. I have Dad, she said before storming out. Michael hurried after her. By the way, Michael didn't say a single word the whole time he was at our house. With that, my future peaceful life was guaranteed. I spent my days joyfully, but one weekend less than a month later, there was a knock on the door. What could it be? Oh my. The camera on the doorbell showed Lisa, crying hysterically. Oh no. I sighed and reluctantly headed to the door. Long time no see, Lisa. Mom. Lisa tried to jump into my arms, but I avoided her. She stumbled into the door and looked at me resentfully. Then she began to speak immediately. Listen, Mom. Something terrible has happened. Something terrible? I tilted my head, and Lisa nodded. Seeing that, I muttered. Did his wife find out about the affair? The his being Michael from the other day. Mom, did you know he was married? No, I just thought it might be possible. When the two came to greet us, my eyes immediately caught sight of a silver ring on Michael's left ring finger. It was, unmistakably, a wedding ring. For a moment, I thought it might be a matching ring with Lisa, but at that time, Lisa's finger was bare. Knowing Lisa's personality, if she had a ring too, she would have boasted about it to me first. Which meant that only Michael had a ring. Lisa, did you know that he was married? I knew. But he told me things weren't going well with his wife and that they were getting divorced. But now, how did it come to this? This? What happened? I asked, not out of concern but curiosity, and Lisa began talking as if she had been waiting for this moment. I just want to be happy with Michael. But that woman, Michael's wife, she's saying she'll sue me. If her husband was cheating, it's no surprise she'd want to sue. As someone who was once cheated on, I wanted to fully support Michael's wife. Maybe because I didn't take Lisa's side, she puffed her cheeks in obvious annoyance. She continued, sulking. Well, now she's saying she might consider settling out of court. Oh, that's good news. The best thing to do is to pay the money and sincerely apologize. But, you see, I don't have any money. Lisa looked at me with upturned eyes. I realized. This girl came here to ask me for money. Otherwise, she wouldn't have bothered visiting me. Understanding Lisa's true intention, I smiled at her. Lisa looked at me with hopeful eyes. Money shouldn't be an issue, right? You could ask your proud dad for it? That's... Besides, isn't he about to retire just like me? He'll get a retirement bonus. Suddenly, Lisa couldn't hold back anymore and began to shout, talking quickly. I did. I already consulted Dad. I explained everything. But listen, Dad lied. Not only is there no retirement bonus, but he's also unemployed. He hasn't worked in years. If he had money, he would want it for himself. I figured it was something like that. He's always put himself first. But didn't Dad used to work at a big company? Mom spent all the money freely, that's why they divorced. Dad told you that? Lisa nodded. It's all lies. The reason for the divorce was completely different. No way! I heard you were so awful. Dad was saved by another woman, they loved each other, and that's why they got divorced. I didn't know at what age he told her this, but what a thing to fill a child's head with. I scratched my head at Joshua's stupidity. So, why is he still single, if he loved that person so much. Lisa looked up at my words. And no matter the circumstances, isn't it against the rules to love someone else when you're already married? This was directed at Lisa herself. If she hadn't known he was married, it would be different, but from the way she spoke earlier, it seemed she knew and still dated him. I couldn't help but point out that it was wrong. Generally, that's true. But for me and Dad, it was just that the timing was wrong. If Michael had met me before that woman, then... Lisa's eyes darted around. Even while defending herself, she seemed to have some awareness of her wrongdoing. Is the reason you've been so hostile and critical towards me because of that person? Has she been saying things to you? Lisa remained silent, not answering. I looked at her abdomen and pointed out. The pregnancy is a lie too, isn't it? Huh? I could faintly smell alcohol on Lisa. Even if it's Lisa, if she were really pregnant, she wouldn't be drinking alcohol. How did you know? Michael didn't notice. Did you tell Michael that you're not pregnant? Of course not. Michael and his current wife aren't getting along because they can't have children. So he was overjoyed when I told him I was pregnant. If he finds out it was a lie, we might break up. I held my head in my hands at her response. Lisa had been using a fictitious child as a bargaining chip in her marriage. She was using it to take Michael away from his wife. It's a relief you're not really pregnant. You can't raise a child. What? How dare you? Just settle out of court. Pay the compensation in installments if you have to. It's the best you can do. As I tried to close the door, Lisa's face turned pale, and she hurriedly held it open. Wait a minute. We're not done talking. Installments? Do you know how long that would take? Who knows? But you're still young. If you try hard enough, you'll manage. Don't close the door. Are you even a mother? Hey. We're not done here. Hey. Her desperate knocking echoed around. Even though she did that, I had no intention of going out. Lisa continued to shout for a while, but eventually gave up and left. The next day, she unexpectedly returned with someone. It was Joshua. Long time no see. Joshua stood arrogantly with his arms crossed, and Lisa, with a sly grin, hid behind him. This smelled like trouble. I wanted to turn them away, but I knew they wouldn't leave quietly. I had no choice but to face them. Today, I had to settle this. To avoid a scene at the front door, I moved to a nearby cafe. As soon as we sat down, Joshua began speaking without even looking at the menu. Hey, I heard from Lisa. That's awful. You have your severance pay, don't you? You should have enough. Ignoring his lies, he aimed to pressure me into giving them money. Would you give up your hard-earned rewards for strangers? What are you talking about? Of course not. Lisa is your daughter, not a stranger. Are you even a mother? She was the one who declared the estrangement. Besides, she's already employed and an adult. I've fulfilled my duties as a mother. No matter how much she insulted or mistreated me, I endured it until she became an adult and graduated from college. And you forgot, didn't you? You still haven't paid the overdue compensation and child support. You ignore my calls about that, but you reach out when you need something. What? That's... He was clearly flustered. So focused on my money, he had forgotten his own debts. I was willing to give up on contacting you because I didn't want to deal with you. But if you're coming to me, I'll pursue the compensation to the ends of the earth. So, Beside the bewildered Joshua, Lisa couldn't wait and shouted. Dad, you said you'd handle this. Why are you losing to Mom? I see. Joshua had come because Lisa pleaded with him. Mom was right. Dad, you're useless. I hadn't said anything that harsh. Hey. I was just tricked by Dad. You get it, right? I'm the victim here. Ever since I graduated middle school, it's been nothing but bad-mouthing Mom. Dad is the worst. The other day, I just slipped up about the estrangement. Let's get along as a family again. I'm your precious daughter, right? She was acting like the heroine of a tragedy. I don't feel the slightest bit guilty. If I had known this would happen, I should have refused all visits back then. You wanted to meet him, so I thought I was being selfish by tying you down. What? What do you mean? You're just like him. Always blaming others, never reflecting, always making excuses that it's not your fault. I thought I had raised Lisa with love every day, but she ended up being just like Joshua, who only visits once a month. And to think she had an affair with a married man. Blood is thicker than water, they say. I truly regret it. I shouldn't have let you meet him. If I hadn't, I wouldn't care so little about my daughter now. Mom! When we see each other every day, you say terrible things. No thanks, no apologies. How can I think of you as a precious daughter after years of such living? Lisa seemed to search for excuses, but apparently couldn't find any. She just stared at me with her mouth moving. You were unconditionally cute when you were little, but without consideration or gratitude, there's no such thing as unconditional love forever. But you're my mom, right? Even looking at Lisa, whose mouth was twitching as she asked, I felt nothing. I really don't care about you anymore. I'm sorry. And from now on, we're strangers, so stop contacting me or visiting. It's a nuisance. I looked coldly at the two sitting across from me. I'm telling both of you. If you do this again, I'll call the police without hesitation. Don't ever show up in front of me again. I don't want to hear your voice or see your face. That's it. When I stood up from the cafe seat, the two of them were staring blankly with pale faces, showing the same expression. I headed straight to the real estate agent. Although I said that, they might visit again. In that case, I have to go somewhere they can't find me. I hope I find a good apartment. Moving is a hassle, but I walked away feeling refreshed. After that, I successfully moved. The new place is a small studio apartment, but it's newly built, so it's very clean and comfortable. Of course, I haven't told Joshua or Lisa the address. I even thought about blocking their numbers, but decided against it. I need to leave an escape route, just in case they do something unpredictable. By the way, the aftermath was left on my voicemail. First, Lisa's affair partner apparently got divorced. Lisa was. Now Michael is mine. Rejoicing, but he stopped contacting her. It seems he couldn't forgive the fake pregnancy lie. Lisa is being sued for damages by his wife and is paying it off little by little. When she tried to ignore it, they almost showed up at her workplace. The amount was so large that she finally understood the gravity of her actions. I'll never get involved with a married man again. She cried over the phone. She said she no longer meets Joshua. After that conversation, the two had a big fight. Being both selfish, they couldn't reconcile and broke up in a fight. Joshua also left a voicemail on another day. I'm out of money, getting old, and no one cares about me. Lisa ignores me too. I'm all alone and lonely. I wish I could be with you again. I want to spend time with you once more. Basically, he wanted to get back together. Hearing that, I was horrified and deleted it immediately. How dare he say that after looking down on me so much? Joshua is apparently getting by with part-time day jobs, but I wonder how he manages to live on that. I'm finally enjoying living alone after a long time. Thanks to a life without being insulted or belittled by anyone, I'm mentally and physically healthy. I put all my retirement money into savings and investments. It was more than I expected, so I'm happy. I'm enjoying every day now, but I'm thinking of finding a hobby next. A hobby after turning 60, there seems to be a lot to find, and I'm very excited about it. Get out because our daughter is coming home for her childbirth. It was the day when Mike flared up at me, his nostrils widening, because I came home late from work, which delayed dinner preparation. I had been thinking he was being too selfish lately, but telling me to get out was something else. Besides, I hadn't heard anything about our daughter coming home. Why do I have to leave? Just because I got home a bit late? I couldn't understand why Mike was so angry with me. After retiring, Mike has been staying at home all day while I work outside. It's no exaggeration to say that I am the one who earns the living for this house. Yet, I've started to feel sick of Mike's grumpy attitude. You make me so irritated. Don't ever come back. I'll live happily with our daughter and grandchild. Mike's words finally made my anger explode. Fine then. If that's what you say, I'll leave. My name is Sally, I'm 60 years old. I live with my husband Mike. I've been managing a cafe that we opened 10 years ago while also taking care of housework. Mike retired this year at 65. So, during the day, he seems to relax by watching TV or gathering information about horse races. Initially, I wanted Mike to rest after years of hard work, but recently, I've been questioning him not doing anything around the house. But that's not the only bad thing about Mike. He gets angry if I even spend a little time relaxing at home, despite not doing any housework himself. I've worked hard as a company employee for a long time. You're lucky, just running a cafe as a hobby. You don't know the struggles of a company employee. At least work for others in the house. That's Mike's favorite thing to say. He must have been given unreasonable tasks by his superiors when he was working. I understand his frustration. But it's presumptuous of him to tell me to work for others. Also, I'm not running the cafe just as a hobby. I manage it with a strong belief in making customers happy with my cooking. Hiring employees is not something I take lightly. I carry their lives on my shoulders. I didn't want it to be dismissed as a hobby. Mike's high-handed attitude towards me and thinking only about himself has been irritating me daily. These frustrations have been part of my daily life, but lately, Mike's attitude has been getting worse. As the owner of the cafe, my life involves going to work every day if there's a staffing shortage. Since all employees are part-timers and we operate on a voluntary shift system, there are often days when shifts aren't filled. Even so, Mike wouldn't do anything about the house. One Sunday, one of the employees told me, "Sally, please take a break sometimes." Accepting their kindness, I decided to take a break. While reading in the living room, Mike, who had been reading a horse racing magazine, snapped at me with a scary face. It's already 0 p.m. Stop reading such books and quickly make lunch. I was so engrossed in my reading that I hadn't realized it was already lunchtime. But that's no reason to get angry. After all, there were things Mike could have done instead, like giving me a heads up a bit earlier or preparing something himself. I had many things I wanted to say, but I knew arguing would only lead to more retorts. I sighed and responded, "Sorry, I completely forgot. What would you like?" "Just make anything quickly. I'm hungry." I ended up making pizza at Mike's insistence. Unfortunately, we were out of bacon, so I used chicken instead. Sorry for the delay. Pizza only? Isn't there any soup or salad? And chicken pizza is the worst. Make it again. Mike grimaced at the pizza I had made with effort. I never expected such heartless words, and it made me want to frown. What? But we don't have any bacon, and making something else would take more time. Then go buy some. Mike waved me off as if shooing a fly. This was too much. But arguing here would only make him angrier, I could see that. In the end, I rushed out to buy bacon. I regretted not choosing another dish, but I sighed, thinking that I would have been complained at either way. When I offered Mike the remade pizza with bacon, he started eating it without a word of thanks, still looking at his horse racing magazine. I wonder when our marriage became so cold. While I was busy with work, Mike had become such an uncaring person. I dreaded thinking about our future life together as a couple. Mike's laziness wasn't just about not doing housework and ordering me around. He was a playboy. I knew Mike often went to nightclubs. Once, I had confronted him. Why do you go to places like that? But even then, are you criticizing my hobby? You run a cafe as a hobby, don't you? It's the same thing. Mike retorted with a nonsensical logic. Needless to say, I was unconvinced by such an excuse, but no matter how much I scolded him, Mike wouldn't stop going to nightclubs. Since he retired, he had more free time and thus went out to play even more. When I confided in a friend, she naturally suggested, "Why don't you divorce him?" That's easier said than done. Of course. Though I understood, I couldn't easily make the decision to divorce. I married Mike when I was 35, and frankly, I thought it was a miracle that I got married at all. I lacked confidence in my looks and didn't come from a particularly good family background. Coming from a poor family, I thought I'd end up living a lonely, single life, so I was very happy to have married Mike. Moreover, Mike wasn't always this domineering. It was my fault for pampering him too much. Mike had grown arrogant with age and became selfish. Considering this, I had convinced myself that having an unreasonable husband was better than being alone. I also naively hoped that Mike might mellow with age. Like the old Mike, I hoped he would settle down as he got older. I'm going to the races today. One Saturday, Mike left for the races, humming a tune. He was always in a good mood when going to the races. I had work that day, but if it made Mike a little happier, I wanted him to go, as long as he stayed within his allowance for betting. Have a good time. I'll probably be late today. Yeah. Mike, preoccupied with thoughts of racing, hardly listened and left the house. I went to work as usual. Looking at the cloudless sky, I felt geared up for another busy day. I'm home. It was 10 p.m. when I finished work. It was Saturday, and I was late because of preparation work for the next day. Usually, Mike would buy his own dinner on such days, but this day was different. What time do you think it is? I told you I'd be late. Sorry. I didn't hear that. What about my dinner? Didn't you buy something? Shut up. Why would I? Seeing Mike's angry face, I realized everything. He had lost at the races and spent all his money. So, he didn't even have money for dinner. It had to be something like that. Tired from work, I started cooking right there. I could only make something simple, but Mike, probably starving, ate it voraciously, still with an angry face. A turning point finally arrived in our cold marriage. Get out because our daughter is coming home for her childbirth. It was the day when Mike flared up at me, his nostrils widening. because I came home late from work, which delayed dinner preparation. I thought he had been too selfish lately, but telling me to get out was outrageous. Besides, I hadn't heard anything about our daughter coming home. Mike and I have a daughter named Mary. Mary is 30 this year and moved out after getting married 2 years ago. Truth be told, though she's called our daughter, she's not related to me by blood. She's Mike's daughter from a previous relationship. But I raised Mary as if she were my own daughter. We became a family when Mary was 5 years old, and it was quite a struggle to build a relationship of trust. I patiently talked to Mary, gave her what she wanted, and even had fights, through which she started to treat me like her real mother. I was lonely after she got married, but as long as Mary was happy, I was content. It was about 7 months ago that I received a call from Mary, telling me she was pregnant. Of course, I was happy, and so was Mike. He was thrilled. Seeing him so excited about meeting his grandchild made me feel warmly towards him, realizing he had such adorable sides. Mary is coming home for her childbirth? Why does Mike know such a thing while I don't? I wasn't even aware that Mary was planning to come home for the childbirth. I had assumed she would give birth at a hospital near our house. I didn't know she was planning to come home for her childbirth. That's because you're not trusted, so you weren't told. Mike mocked me, as if belittling me. Indeed, since I'm not blood related to Mary, I can't know for sure if I'm truly trusted unless I ask her. But is it possible that she wouldn't tell me about her plans for coming home for childbirth? Or is Mike lying? I wanted to confront Mike, but more than that, I was irritated by being told to leave. Why do I have to leave? Just because I got home a bit late? I couldn't understand why Mike was so angry with me. Mike has been at home since his retirement, while I work outside all day. It's no exaggeration to say that our household living expenses are covered thanks to my job. Sure, dinner might be late sometimes, but that's always because I get home late from work. Even so, I always make sure to prepare dinner, no matter how late it is. Yet, I've started to feel sick of Mike's annoying attitude. You irritate me just by being here. Don't ever come back. I have other women, and I'll live happily with my daughter and my grandchild. Mike's words finally made my anger explode. He doesn't realize what will happen if I leave, even though I'm the one paying the $1,500 monthly mortgage. All right then. If that's how it is, I'll leave. Angered by Mike's disdainful words, I went back to my room and pulled out a large carry-on bag. I started packing the essentials, clothes, cosmetics, etc. I couldn't fit everything, so I had to compromise. Of course, I made sure to pack important items like money and debit cards properly. After managing to pack everything, I made my way to the entrance. What's going on? Why do you have such a big bag? You told me to leave, so I'm leaving. Oh, that's good. The thought of not having to see your face anymore is relieving. I felt disgusted with Mike, who seemed happy only at times like this, despite being incapable of doing any household chores by himself. Please take good care of Mary. Of course. My adorable grandchild is coming. I'll feed them delicious food every day. I wondered where Mike got the culinary skills to provide such delicious meals. Maybe he plans to dine out every night? Doing so would surely deplete any amount of money. Even with a pension, daily dining out would quickly drain it, which was easy to predict. Yet, Mike seemed completely unconcerned about money, smirking unpleasantly. Eager to get away from this man, I said. Well then. And left the house. He can try his best to take care of his daughter. He'll surely give up soon anyway. After leaving home, I first looked for a hotel to stay in for the night. I found a budget business hotel and decided to stay there for the time being. But obviously, I couldn't stay in a hotel for many days. That would surely lead to bankruptcy on my part. I called a single friend of mine to negotiate if I could stay with her for a while. Knowing it was a bold request, I offered to take care of the house and cook meals in return, and she kindly accepted. I was touched by the support of friends, grateful to be allowed to stay from the next day. After checking into the hotel, I planned my next move. I could predict that Mike, unable to do household chores, would be at a loss just by my leaving, but that alone wouldn't quell my anger. I wanted to make him regret having led such a lazy life, dumping all the household chores on me, and showering me with verbal abuse. The next day, after finishing some errands, I headed to my friend's house. It had been a while since we'd seen each other, and she was happy to see me. I once again asked if I could stay for a while and entered her home. "It's unlike you, Sally, to be kicked out of your house." "Well, it's more like I left on my own. I've had enough of living with Mike." "So, are you planning to get a divorce?" "I'm considering it." As I sipped the coffee my friend had made, I reflected on my married life. Though it happened that I was kicked out, it was inevitable that my life with Mike would have ended sooner or later. Things were fine while Mike was working. I never imagined he would fall so far after retirement. Everyone deserves a rest after years of hard work. But that doesn't give him the right to take it out on his wife. Mike's attitude had cooled my heart towards him. Later, I put my luggage in the room my friend showed me and made the bed. She said I could relax today, so I laid down on the bed. So much had happened in the past 2 days. I knew I couldn't stay at my friend's forever, so I'd need to find a new place, but I decided to rest early that day. When I woke up, the unfamiliar room made my mind foggy, trying to catch up with reality. Right, I was at my friend's place. I remembered I needed to start looking for a house today. Luckily, my shop was closed today, so I could dedicate the whole day to house hunting. My friend had gone to work, so I visited a nearby real estate agency alone. After I shared my budget, the agent showed me several options. Thinking I didn't need a large place just for myself, I chose a smaller rental apartment. I quickly finished viewing and signed the lease to move in next month. Everything was going smoothly. I was worried about what would happen after being kicked out by Mike, but there was no need. That night, after my friend came back from work, I told her I had signed a lease, and we drank together. It had been a while since I had such a fun time drinking with a friend. I was full of hope for my new life. I might have been lulled into thinking everything would pass without incident, but after staying at my friend's for a month, I got a call at work. As expected, it was Mike. I was busy at the time, so I didn't answer, but I called him back 2 hours later, after work, from the empty shop. "Hello? What's up?" I pretended to be indifferent, and immediately, I heard shouting from the other end. I instinctively pulled the mobile phone away from my ear. "Why didn't you answer your phone?" I couldn't help it. I was at work. "Besides, I'm calling you back now, so it's fine." Mike clicked his tongue. I held my breath, waiting for his next words, which soon came out meekly. "What's this about the loan? Weren't you paying it?" "Loan? What are you talking about?" I feigned ignorance. "The mortgage. I got a call saying it hasn't been paid. What's going on?" Mike's voice trembled as he explained the situation. I couldn't help but feel a surge of laughter inside. Actually, the day after I left, I had transferred the house deed from my name to Mike's. It was initially bought under my name since I had the income, but since I left, it wasn't mine anymore. Now that Mike would be living there alone, it was only natural for the deed and the mortgage responsibilities to be his. Mike seemed aware I had been paying the mortgage with my hard-earned money, but he hadn't realized its importance. So, he was panicking over the sudden responsibility for the mortgage payments. The house and the mortgage aren't mine anymore. They're yours, Mike. So, it's only natural for you to pay.
Why? It was bought under your name. You should pay it.
Too bad. I've already changed the deed.
What?
Mike's voice was filled with surprise. I sensed it was time to vent my accumulated grievances. What? Mike, you mean to tell me you can't even pay the loan? After all that talk about kicking me out of the house. And all those boasts about feeding Mary delicious food. I see. Perhaps you've run out of money from gambling on horse races. How pitiful.
What are you talking about? I haven't wasted any money. The pension is just too low. And Mary, she's already left.
Mike's hurried denial over the phone was painfully obvious. The claim that he hadn't wasted any money was a lie. After all, I knew he had dipped into our shared savings to buy more lottery tickets when his allowance wasn't enough. So, I was aware that Mike lacked the capacity to pay the loan. He complains about the pension being low, but he was supposed to receive a decent amount.
The fact that $1,500 for the loan isn't available means he should have enough to live on normally.
I thought to myself, detached. I know you've spent all our savings on your hobbies, Mike. Must be nice, immersing yourself in your hobbies every day. You didn't have to do anything. 3 meals a day appeared, and I did all the laundry, trash, and cleaning. It was easy for you, wasn't it?
That's right. I need you. I can't live without you. Please come back.
This time, Mike pleaded with me to come back, changing his tone to one of desperation. I was beyond being appalled by Mike's willingness to change his attitude for self-preservation. It was embarrassing. I can't live with you, Mike. After all the exploitation and being told never to come back, do you think I would return? Mike, how old are you? You're an adult, aren't you? Take care of yourself. I never thought you were so foolish to kick me out without even the readiness to manage on your own. Don't call me ever again. We're getting a divorce. You will pay off the entire loan. Enjoy your remaining years with Mary and your grandchild. Goodbye. I hung up the phone, cutting off Mike's attempt to say something. Calls from Mike came through immediately after, but I rejected them on the spot. Looking at the now quiet mobile phone, I was suddenly overcome with exhaustion. When was the last time I got angry at someone? It's not in my nature at all. I had never really gotten angry with Mike because, fundamentally, I disliked being angry with anyone. I never wanted to go through something like this again. Though it meant losing both a husband and a daughter, continuing as Mike's wife was unbearable. A few days later, Mike somehow found out where I was staying and sent a letter. It expressed remorse and pleaded for me not to go through with the divorce, asking me to come back. I didn't respond to the letter but sent back only the divorce papers. Mike hesitated to proceed with the divorce, but perhaps resigning to the fact that I wouldn't respond to his letters, he submitted the divorce papers a month later. Finally, we were able to start walking separate paths in life. Sometime later, I received another call. I had blocked Mike's number, so I was curious to see who it was. It turned out to be Mary.
Hello? Mary?
Mom? It's been a while. Mary sounded excited over the phone.
What's up?
A baby girl was born this morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Hearing the news that the baby was safely born made me incredibly happy.
Did you come to the house last month? I'm sorry I wasn't there.
No, it's okay. I wanted to surprise you by coming home for just one day. But only Dad was there, and he misunderstood about the childbirth. When I asked where you were, he said you had left. I realized Dad had kicked you out, so I left immediately. Mary shared what had happened after I left the house. So that was it. She had planned to surprise me by coming home for just one day, which is why she hadn't contacted me. But Mike had twisted the story, leading to misunderstandings. I told Mary about my divorce from Mike. She accepted it surprisingly easily. I thought it might come to this sooner or later. Dad was exploiting you too much. Mom, you did well. Mary had always been on my side. Knowing this brought me peace and affirmed my love for her. Later, I visited Mary to see my granddaughter. She was adorable, and holding her tiny hands was incredibly moving. Holding such a fragile being made me realize the joy of grandparenthood. Having never raised a baby myself, I visit Mary regularly now, and her husband has warmly welcomed me. I never imagined such happy days would come. Mike hasn't shown up at Mary's house, perhaps still shocked by our divorce. But I couldn't care less. He might be living alone now, struggling with daily chores, drowning in despair. Covering the loan and living expenses with just his pension must be tough, so he might have to work. The image of Mike's downfall crossed my mind, but it no longer concerned me.
I'm so glad you're my child.
Me too. The one thing I'm grateful to Dad for is marrying you, Mom. Mary and I exchanged smiles, and at that moment, it felt like even my granddaughter smiled for an instant.